You feel like you're always stuck on something, practicing the same things over and over, but making little to no progress in your drumming? If that's you and you're wanting to build more chops and more coordination more quickly, then today's lesson is definitely for you. There's an often missed secret to faster drumming growth hidden in plain sight inside George Lawrence Stone's method book, Stick Control. And employing this method will literally change your drumming forever. Ignore this and you will never reach your potential. But employ this and you'll never look back. I'll teach you how this 80-second practice routine works. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can do this. Hey, welcome to The Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you're hanging out today. I help self-taught beginner drummers know what to practice so that they can nail songs and have a lot of fun on the drums and become the drummer that other people want to jam with and have in their band. And hey, if you are constrained to pad practice, you're stuck practicing on a pad because you can't make a lot of noise, or maybe you haven't bought a kit yet, you're brand new to the drums, and you're kind of feeling like, you know, how useful is this stuff I'm playing on my pad when I need to be practicing on a full kit? So you're afraid you're not going to grow fast enough and it's going to take you forever to reach your goals and reach your drumming dreams. Trust me, I've been there. I totally get it. You need a method of pad practice that will actually carry over to the drum set. You need a way to consistently grow in your bedroom, apartment, dorm room, whatever. And guess what? I've got that for you. I have a totally free gift for you. If you are a drum set player stuck on a pad, this is my free e-guide. It's called the 30-minute pad practice routine for drummers without a drum set. Because you see, there are just a few things that you can practice on your pad that really do carry over to the full drum set. I spent a lot of time living in a tiny apartment and I had to figure this out for myself. And so I've taught this to students as well. And so this guide is made up of the 3 biggest, most powerful pad exercises that have helped me and my students, and I think they'll help you too. So grab the free PDF e-guide, 30-minute pad practice routine for drummers without a drum set, so that you can grow your skills away from the kit and be able to get on a drum set eventually and actually feel like you've made progress and actually feel at home, all because of playing on the pad. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty cool. So go grab that and we'll get on with today's lesson. So I'm guessing that you're here today because you feel like maybe you're not growing fast enough. You would like to grow faster. That's such a common frustration. We always wonder, are we growing fast enough? Like, how does our progress measure up to others? And so I'm guessing if you're here sticking with me today through this lesson, you're feeling like you're always stuck on a few things. Like there are certain skills that you just haven't mastered and you're not sure if you'll ever actually master them. And so you always feel like you're going in circles, and maybe you take a few steps forward and then a few steps back, and then you're just not sure if you're actually getting anywhere. And you feel like every practice session is kind of just the same boring thing over and over again. And unfortunately, this is what usually leads to giving up. You lose motivation, and it's like, should I really be spending so much time working on this? Maybe I should find a new hobby. And so that's what happens to so many drummers, and I don't want this to be you. There's sort of a learning truth that I want to just plant in your head right now before we really dig into this, and it's this. Practicing one thing for 30 minutes is far more valuable than practicing 10 things for 3 minutes each. Which might actually sound kind of obvious, right? Like if you're trying to practice this one skill for 3 minutes, someone else for 3 minutes, I know that sounds ridiculous, you know, a 30-minute practice session made up of 10 totally different things, 3 minutes apiece. But yet, this is what too many people have told me that they're doing. I send out surveys to my email list all the time. I work one-on-one with students. I've got a bunch of students in my paid membership community, and this is something that I noticed that so many people, and even students I've worked with one-on-one, they're showing me, oh yeah, I've been working on this, and that, and that, and that. But I feel like I'm not making any progress. And so we end up having to figure out, okay, what is the one thing you can really focus in on that's actually going to help you grow the most? It's 80-20 principle, productivity 101. Find that 20% you can practice that actually leads to 80% of the results. What's the couple things you can focus in on that actually moves the needle of drumming progress? So keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your head here. Practicing one thing for 30 minutes is far more valuable than practicing 10 things for 3 minutes each. Maybe you need to self-evaluate your practice sessions. And are you trying to tackle too much stuff? Do you just need to focus in on one simple thing? Here's where we're going today, though. We're talking about George Lawrence Stone's Stick Control. There's a really hidden, I say hidden, it's hidden in plain sight, this nugget of wisdom in Stick Control that it seems like nobody really talks about. There's an often missed secret to faster drumming growth, hidden in plain sight inside George Lawrence Stone's method book, Stick Control, and employing this method will change your drumming forever, just like I told you back at the beginning of the video. And so what we want to do is employ this 80-second practice routine into your practice session. Here's what Stick Control says. So if you don't have a copy of it, that's totally fine. You don't have to get one. However, this is one of those legendary methods that's almost a century old, and it doesn't cost much. Drumming method books, when you get the right one at least, it's such a great investment and bang for your buck because it's 10, 15, 25 bucks for this method book. If you know how to use it, you can extract so much more value than $20 worth of value out of it. And Stick Control is one of those. Even if you just spend time on the first 3 pages, you'll get so much out of it. And even if you don't even practice what's in it and you just read the introduction page right here, if you just read the introduction page, that's going to give you so much wisdom that he packs into here and that we gloss over. And so that's what we're getting into here today. Here's what George Lawrence Stone says. He says, the author recommends that each rhythm be practiced 20 times without stopping. Then go on to the next one. This is important, all caps. Stick control cannot serve its purpose as well in any other way. So what he's talking about, there's these different stickings. If you're not familiar with it, the first 3 pages are just 1/8 notes that you play. And there's different stickings, so you might be doing singles, doubles, paradiddles, any random kind of thing. And what he says is that you've got to practice each of these. Each one is 2 measures long, 2 measures of 1/8 notes. You've got to practice each of these 20 times in a row without stopping before you move on to the next one. And it's also implied no mistakes. You've got to get through it 20 times without stopping, so no mistakes, so that you really know it before you move on to the next one. And something else that he also says is how, there's the way these are written in here, they're very simple with repeat signs. And he says, this is so that each rhythm may be practiced over and over before proceeding to the next one, which method of practice is the most conducive to quick and satisfactory results. Isn't that interesting? He's talking about quick and satisfactory results. That's what we want, right? We want this in any area of our playing. We want quick results. We want to be satisfied with our results, which implies high quality, like we're actually sounding good. So we want to sound really good and have high quality practice sessions that lead to great results quickly. And that's what George Lawrence Stone here, an expert from forever ago, was talking about and what he discovered here and why he put all this together. And it all comes down to that 20 times without stopping. It's so interesting. It's all about the repetition here. So how does this apply to drum set across the board? Because here he's talking about it just with these stickings. Well, here's my interpretation of it. Do not play a groove, pattern, or exercise any less than 20 times without stopping and without mistakes. So whatever you're practicing, if it's a groove, a fill, a new kick pattern, some sort of exercise, doesn't matter what it is, don't play it any less than 20 times in a row with your metronome without stopping and without mistakes. Now, how did we come up with the 80-second thing? So at 120 beats a minute, which is kind of a base level tempo for playing these 1/8 note patterns in stick control, at 120 beats a minute, it takes 80 seconds to loop a 2-bar thing 20 times. So 40 measures at 120 is 80 seconds, or looping the 2-bar thing 20 times is 80 seconds. Hopefully that math makes sense. Or playing a groove at 60 beats a minute, looping that 1 measure 20 times comes out to 80 seconds, because 1 bar of 60 beats a minute is equal in time to 2 bars at 120 beats a minute. Hopefully you're following. Hopefully I'm getting my math right. Hopefully I'm not making it more confusing. So if you're practicing grooves and you're sitting here and practicing stuff like you're playing something really slow like that. If you're going 60 beats a minute with it, if you play that 20 times, that's 80 seconds. So you can do whatever you want to do here and do the math and set a timer so that you see it counting up or counting down and you know, okay, it's been 80 seconds. That way you're not having to actually count how many times you play it. Though you can definitely do that. And then just do the math on different tempos and see, like, make a chart for yourself of, okay, if I go 70 beats a minute, it's going to take this long. If I go 50 beats a minute, it's going to take this long. And so just keep in mind, if you go at a slower tempo, like 55 or 50, it might take a little bit longer. But here's the catch with this, because I know this sounds nice and simple and clean, and this is always great. But here's the catch with this, as if this isn't already mentally challenging enough. This also means slowing down to a tempo at which you can play the given thing without mistakes. Because in order to play, let's say a 60 beat a minute groove here 20 times, so that we hit the 20 times, the 80 seconds. In order to do that, well, we've got to be able to play it without mistakes. And what you might find is that you're constantly making mistakes. And so you're driving yourself crazy. You're like, I got to get this 20 times. I got to get this 80 seconds. But really, you've got to go even slower so that you get more comfortable with it, so you can then do the 20 times with no mistakes. And so that's the big catch here that's going to require a lot of patience. You may end up looping something for 15 minutes just to get 20 reps in with no mistakes, not to mention you're having to go even slower. So this takes time, and this is the secret to really succeeding at this, being willing to sit here and play something over and over again for 15 minutes without stopping, for 20 minutes without stopping. It goes back to that first thing I told you, that truth of learning. If you're having a hard time playing paradiddles with your feet, like we talked about last week, if you're having a hard time doing this weird hi-hat thing with barks, like if that's random groove that you're working on, if you're having trouble with that, you're not going to master this. You're not going to be able to just nail it and sound awesome playing it without looping it a bunch and a bunch and a bunch of times and getting in a bunch of repetition. That's how you master the drums. And so it's more valuable that you practice that one thing over and over and over again for 30 minutes than be like, okay, I kind of got through that. Okay, let's move on to something else. And you're like flying through these millions of things and nothing is being done well. Quality over quantity. You've got to focus in on the one thing. What is the most important thing that you need to be working on or that you want to work on? Maybe it's a particular groove bugging you. Stay on that for an entire 30 minutes and you'll actually make significant progress, even if it's just 30 minutes. That's why I tell you a 30-minute practice routine is really like a real thing when you commit to really making progress with something. Maybe it's 3 things for 10 minutes, definitely not 10 things for 3 minutes, but one thing that you loop over and over and over again. And there's something magical that happens when you do this. When you loop anything over and over and over again, limbs begin to go on autopilot. That's the big magical thing. Limbs start to go on autopilot because building coordination isn't just doing coordination exercises with your feet or your hands, like we did last week with a double bass without a double bass pedal thing. That's not it. I mean, that's part of it. And you can practice building coordination away from the kit, like that other lesson I told you about last week. But really the big thing that builds confidence and comfort and control over the drum set is just repetition. If you're not practicing any coordination exercises, but you're going and you're playing 2 or 3 4-hour cover gigs every weekend, that's huge because you're spending all this time playing and getting all these repetitions and you're really connecting with your right foot, playing all these different kick patterns, and you're getting better at playing fills. And so it just takes time. And so your limbs start to go on autopilot when you loop stuff over and over and over again. That's just the truth. But hey, we can't finish with that because there's something else we got to talk about here. The biggest thing we humans lack is patience. And that's where the struggle comes in here because we want to feel like we're checking a bunch of boxes. We want to feel productive and feel like we're going down a list and okay, I practiced this and that and that and that. Okay, I did this, that. Got through these songs, learned these kick patterns. So we want to feel like we're moving forward, but a lot of times you have to go slow to move fast. You got to move slowly to actually move forward quickly. And so you've got to cultivate a mindset of patience and a lack of hurry in your practicing, and then you'll grow significantly faster. There is a quote, like I just said, the go slow to go faster, and that applies to anything. If you're trying to hurry through your practice sessions, you might not really grow much. You have to give yourself some time and space. You've just got to sit in that you're working on and be okay with that because you can't grow without some time, without some space. And if you're hurrying, trying to practice all these different things, then you're probably not going to get a lot done. You know, it's the classic tortoise and the hare story. You've got to move nice and slow and steady with this consistently and have that discipline of, you know, practicing with repetitions every day. That's how you get big results on the drums. And so if, I'll just say this, here's the big drumming truth that we need to land on today. You can't master anything without repetition. And so if you're not willing to commit to the long haul, you're not willing to sit down and practice something over and over and over again for days, weeks, months, maybe you shouldn't try to learn the drums. If you're hoping for quick hacks, if you're surfing through all the millions of drumming YouTube videos out there, and you're looking for the quick exercise that's going to solve everything, the foot technique that's going to solve your speed, all this magic stuff. Yes, there are things like that, and I've got videos here on this channel on quick little things you can do with your hands that'll improve your grip, ways to improve your hi-hats and your bass drum, and there's a lot of fun stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, if you don't have the discipline of consistent practice regularly and putting in time, logging the hours, logging the reps, you can't expect to ever really master the drums because anything worth doing takes time, takes effort. And so you've got to keep yourself accountable. You've got to do that, and you've got to commit to this for the long haul. If you're following the non-glamorous drummer, it's all well and good. I'm glad you're here, but you're not going to get anywhere on the drums if you're not committing to saying, like, I'm going to work at this for the next few weeks, few months. I'm thinking about 6 months from now. I'm thinking about 12 months from now. You've got to be committing to the long haul, because when you stay in it that long, that's how you grow. That's so true in business. You know, you hear about companies that have grown to be massive. How did they grow to be so massive? Well, they've been doing it for decades, and so they stuck with it, and maybe their competition quit eventually. People burn out and businesses shut down, but if your business keeps going, you stick with it, you're going to grow, and eventually you might even make it to the top. I mean, look at Apple. Look at how long Steve Jobs worked at growing Apple. Look at Amazon, all these other companies. And so sometimes it's just the tortoise and the hare thing of just being consistent and steady, like the tortoise, and just working at this, working at this, working at this, and then realizing a few years from now, wow, I've actually gotten somewhere. I've actually grown. I'm actually accomplishing my dreams on the drums. You've got to have that long-term vision. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do this. And so the biggest thing you can have is patience. You might not see results employing this whole mindset of 20 reps, 80 seconds, depending on your tempo. You might not see results today or even this week. I'll be honest with you. You might not see a whole lot change here in the coming days in these next few practice sessions. You might not. But drumming mastery is a long-term play. So let me tell you, here's what will happen in the next 3 to 6 months, and especially beyond 6 months, if you practice this stuff. I always love to help you cast a vision. You've got to know what's to come if you work on this stuff. Otherwise, what's the point? We got to know where we're going. You'll gain a whole lot more control of your limbs and of every note you play. That's pretty awesome. Your coordination will increase without you actively trying. Also pretty cool. You'll get more comfortable and at home behind your instrument, which is also interesting side note. You'll get to where you're able to sit down at other kits, like other house kits at different venues, and adjust to that kit more quickly and still sound good because you are better. And so you're not having to get everything just right in order to be able to sound good. Kind of an interesting side benefit there. And lastly, the ideas in your head will begin to flow out naturally, and you'll begin to find your voice on the drums. So a question for you as you go today. Are you patiently employing repetition in your practicing? Will you faithfully employ the 20 times rule from here on out, the 80-second practice routine rule? I promise you that your future self thanks you. You've got to start taking on this mindset of quality over quantity, being very active in the way you practice, paying attention to what you're doing. Am I sounding good? Am I doing this right? That kind of focus, that kind of deep focus in your practicing, that's what really gets you results instead of skimming through stuff at a surface level and checking boxes. Pay attention to yourself, self-assess, make videos, make recordings, and just watch what you're doing and be patient. That's really what it comes down to. So I wish you the best. I really hope you take me up on this. I hope you stay patient in your practicing and you really do change your mindset and change the way you practice from here on out. Let me know how it goes. I hope you'll employ some patient practice this week and stick with it most importantly. So hey, I hope this video has been valuable to you. It's been a lot of fun. I love lessons like this where we're not even playing stuff, we're just talking about mindset stuff. Honestly, this is the most important thing that you can learn. And so I hope if you've had the patience to stick with me through this whole lesson, I have full confidence you're going to succeed at this and you will be a different drummer 6 months from now, I promise you. Just because you had the patience and dedication to watch all of this and you weren't like, oh, this is silly, I'm done, I'm moving on to the speed metal video that's in my suggested feed over here. But that wasn't you, you stuck with me, so I believe in you. You can really do a lot with this. Hey, be sure to grab that e-guide before you go. The 3 powerful pad practice routines for drummers without a drum set. That's going to help you a whole bunch. If you're constrained to pad practice and you know that you'll get more practicing done by spending time on your pad, that's pretty awesome. And that helped me a lot when I was in an apartment, so it's going to help you a bunch too. So grab that 30-minute practice routine for drummers without a drum set guide. As always, know that you can do this. Stay non-glamorous. I will see you on the next lesson.